But I do want to just honor time. I know sometimes we have stragglers coming in. She says she loves them. Thank you. That's really great to
Nice.
hear. Always great to hear feedback. And again, just honoring time. So anybody that's coming in later or watching this at a later date or listening to it at a later date, I just want to welcome. I say I immediately go to Mimi because Mimi's Yoga Kids on Instagram, but this is Camelia Felton, bridging generations through yoga and mindfulness. And I'm so excited to have you in your presence and at our event today. You're going to tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to dive right into our event. But I do want to say, Camelia, I love your spirit and all the things that you're doing to bring the spark of mindfulness in yoga to multiple generations, whether they're 5 or 105. So thank you so much for being
Right.
here. Yeah.
Super excited to be here. So, hi, my name is Mimi. I'm the owner and creator of Mimi's Yoga Kids. It's a yoga company that I started in 2018 with just the goal and mission to teach children and their families 4 key elements, and that's mindfulness, inner peace, meditation, and imagination through yoga practices. And so, it's just something that, started with the foundation of teaching kids that just grew and blossomed, into be teaching families, parents, grandparents, seniors, mommy and me. It's just snowballed into something so much bigger than I had even ever imagined. So super
Yes.
excited to be here and just kind of share how, I do that and how we all can do that, bring yoga and mindfulness into families.
I love
Because
it.
yeah,
Yes.
it's so
Awesome.
important.
Yes, absolutely. I resonate with that because I remember being introduced to the practices many years ago and thinking, this is going to be great for kids. And then having that deep understanding that, oh, wow, what if all generations were doing this? And here you are doing that work. I know you have some slides, so I want to bring those up if you're ready for it. Oh, but let's do a mindful check-in maybe really quick. I'm like jumping ahead
Okay.
of myself. I'm
No,
still on
it's
the
okay.
fast food mindfulness from today at school. So
It's okay. So, like I said, I do teach kids. And so, whenever I have an opportunity to bring in the aspect of play, I definitely like to do that because that's another thing, bringing the generations together. When we get older, we forget, play. Play is so important. It's so vital to our overall mental health. So, a lot of classes I like to start with just fun to kind of lighten up the space. So,
mhm.
if I have hosting capabilities, we can get this
Yep,
party started.
absolutely. I am going to make you co-host now, and you should be co-host now.
Okay, awesome. And Miss Barbara, I can't see your beautiful face, but just join in and move your body as we do this together, okay?
I'm ready.
All
Yeah.
right, so let me get the song. Hold on. So just follow me.
Okay. All right. Is this song on? Or are we still waiting?
Can you hear it?
Mm-mm. Camelia was jamming without us, and that is totally fine.
I
Um,
know. I know what I need to do. It's my fault. Hold on 1 second. I forgot to do share screen. So I'm just jamming by myself. I need to add my friends. Hold on.
no worries. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna do audio, and then we're going to do the song.
Rub your hands, sit up tall, take a deep breath. Oh, rub your hands, sit up tall, take a deep breath. Oh.
Rub your
Sit up tall.
Good
you have to put
job.
that song in the chat so we know.
I sure will.
Yes, that was fun.
It's
All
one of
right.
my favorites.
Yeah, Barbara said she loved it too. Yeah, definitely. How can you not get hyped about breathing after that?
I know, right? And it just lightens the space, you know. A lot of times, you know, we've been running all day, we've been here,
Yes.
there. Sometimes it's just good to kind of like let that energy out, you know, so we can go to the next thing. So
Yeah,
my
I
seniors
needed that.
love it. They love it.
Oh yeah, the seniors love it too. So I love that you said that because oftentimes we might think, because adults we just get serious, too serious sometimes. And then with the kiddos, we're reminded of that inner child. And then I love that the seniors are like, wait, no, I want that music too. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Rub your hands. Yeah,
they love it.
that's fun. All right. Let's see. And for those, and also we could put these links. Oh, rub your hands, Karma Kids. Okay, awesome. So this part of this will also go on the podcast, on my podcast, Mindful Living with Athea Davis. So I just want to say the name of it too, Rub Your Hands, Karma Kids, for those that were listening to that. Not the whole thing though, in terms of audio, but those on video. If you didn't see the chat, we'll put those links once it goes on the member site. Barbara says yes. Okay. Would you want me to bring up the slides, Camelia, or do you want to bring them up? Okay, cool. So I will do screen share.
Hi, Jane.
And I'm going to bring up the slides here. Can you guys see the slides?
Yep.
Oops. Well, now you see email. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. There we go. And okay. Is it good to leave it like this? Let's see. I can do slideshow view. Slideshow presentation view. No, we actually want to do the other one. Let's do play from the start. How about that? There we go.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Diving right in. I'm excited. Should I guess I'll go to the next slide, but I want to welcome Jane to our event, Bridging Generations Through Yoga and Mindfulness.
Yes. So welcome everyone, and let's go ahead and get started. So kind of wanted to just talk about how we bridge the generations, right? And so it's multi-generational, families and communities that I deal with. And this is just kind of like some statistics that I found, but there are several types of multi-generational households, okay? And so a few common types are 3-generation, that's the most common. It's where there's typically one or more working age adult in the house, one or more of their children who may be adults, and either aging parents or grandchildren. So that's one group. We could go to the next slide. Just kind of give you kind of like a backdrop of how this works. And then grand families, and I actually fall into this category. There are also a growing number of grand families that is households headed by an older individual or couple who live with grandchildren under the age of 18. I don't consider myself old, but I am, my grandson does live with me, and I've had him since he was 2 days old, and he's 8 years old. So he's 8 now. So I kind of fall into that category. 2 adult generations. That's where most 2-generation households consist of parents and children under the age of 18 to 22. However, this also includes parents moving in with adult children. And COVID, guys, has tremendously change the way we live and how we habitate, with families because of, whatever reason, cost of living, parents just aging. It's just so many different reasons why this is more on the rise. And then 4th-generation, this is a rarity, but except in some lower income ethnic communities, the 4 or even 5-generation household parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, adult children, their children is more commonplace. And this is the source where I got it from. This is an amazing source where you can get all kind of information of how this multi-generation dynamic works. Okay. So that's just kind of like a little backdrop of that. So just kind of want to share my story and how I kind of got to where I am today, teaching and bridging the generations and communities. So I started Mimi's Yoga Kids in 2018 because I myself was caring for a grandchild, plus my own children. And I wasn't married at the time. I was single. So I understand this family structure quite well. Yoga and mindfulness played a very, very important part in keeping me grounded, centered, and focused. There's kind of like a story that I have out the end. I have kind of shared that. I'm not going to really go in that today, but you're more than welcome if you want more information, or I'm an open book, but just for the sake of time, because that's like a whole Zoom. But that's how I started teaching yoga and mindfulness to kids. And so I quickly realized that other families had the same family structure in their homes, and it was something that they needed as well. So I started offering, I started with the foundation of kids. I was going into schools, daycare centers, after school programs. And like I said, I was teaching the kids, but I found, the kids were taking it home to their parents, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles. And I started to get the questions of like, wow, I could use these practices too. My son is telling me how you taught him 5-finger breathing, or you showed him different poses that he could do to help with, stress or anxiety. I want that too. So I started offering family yoga and mindfulness sessions to create that space, for families to practice together. And the benefits were absolutely amazing. So that's kind of how my story kind of intertwined into me taking that work, out into the community. And I serve in a lot of underserved communities where families, a lot of grandparents are having to take care of their children for whatever reason. Parents may be incarcerated or not able health wise to take care of their children. So I found that a lot of grandparents were really taking care of, their children, their grandchildren rather. And that in itself can be very stressful. You're at a point in your life where you should be able to move freely and do things as you choose. And then, you're stuck with raising children, somebody else's children. And that could be a financial burden, that could be a mental burden, that could just snowball into something that's very traumatic, very traumatic. And so just being able to offer that space has been life changing for a lot of families that I serve.
I love it. I love it. I just find it so interesting, how you were able to take these practices into all these generations that needed that healing, that sense of stress relief, the groundedness, all the, life is challenging. And then to bring in these familial challenges on top of that, it can be really difficult, like you were saying, through the pandemic and everything else. What a bright light you are for so many.
Oh, thank you. I can remember during the pandemic, seniors, that's kind of how I got into teaching the seniors, because, they were so isolated. Family members couldn't get to them if they did live alone. So it was so funny. It was like still cold, here in Atlanta, but we would go out in the park and do yoga together, and it was something that they looked forward to on every Tuesday. It started on Tuesdays, and then we started doing it twice a week. So it was something that where they could come together, move their bodies, get fresh air, be in community connection. Like they were so happy to have that source, otherwise that they wouldn't have had. So and then after the pandemic, we just kept it rolling. And now I go into senior communities, senior living properties, and things of that nature, and take the gifts of yoga and mindfulness. And it's beautiful, because some of them can't drive, they're wheelchair bound, so being able to go into those spaces and offer those services and practices for them, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Those are some of my favorite videos that you share on your Instagram on Mimi's Yoga Kids. Absolutely. Yes.
They are joy. They are joy.
All right.
Okay, so the advantages of family community yoga. Getting back to the basics, this is something that's very important. We've kind of lost this as a society, as a culture. We're so inundated with cell phones and video games and going here, going there, that we've lost that family knit that we used to have, right? And so getting back to the basics and bringing the family and community back together again. I tell my kids when I teach them, like, it's a blessing if you have your grandma, go sit and talk to her and have a conversation with her. She can teach you a lot. Put your phone down and go cook with her, or let her tell you some stories of when she grew up. That's history. You can't, there's no book that can teach you that. And so, they'll go back and say, I talked to grandma and she told me she this and she did this back in the day. So just getting back to basics and making that connection is very important. It helps develop a healthy body. you know Learning to, as we get older, things change. Things are not going to stay the same, but being healthy in the body that you're in, and loving that body. And when we do that, and when we teach that, it promotes more healthy habits. I remember when I first, started teaching the seniors, I would mention, make sure you're drinking more water, or, you can have the fried chicken, just not every day. Let's just eat it on Fridays, or instead of, a whole Coke, let's buy the smaller Cokes. So just things like that. And so today, one of the classes that I teach, they are eating vegan food. They're like, Miss Mimi, I don't drink Coke anymore. My blood pressure has gone down. I'm doing more water. I'm eating more fruits, more vegetables. I don't watch the news, and I feel so much better during the day, because I'm not watching all of that, you know, mayhem that's going on around me. I watch it in the morning to get the weather, to get the basics, and I don't watch it anymore. So just those simple things, those simple practices, that we don't think about, that we take for granted, is just really benefiting the entire family.
I love this story that you shared about, reminding younger generations to have those conversations with older generations. Because to me, I feel like that is the mindful moment, bringing that attention, that awareness, being in that present moment with them, and they can bounce ideas off of each other. And you have that generation thinking of those, like great grandmothers, modeling that for each other. And we know how powerful modeling is. Modeling are just these very powerful seeds that are planted within our younger generations. And so how cool is that they can do that together? That's awesome.
Absolutely. And then even the children, like teaching grandma how to go on Instagram, or how,
Yeah.
you know,
How to go on
do a tick,
Instagram yeah. I love
yeah,
that. Yeah.
do a TikTok together,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
fun.
just, it's teaching each other.
Mhm.
So it's just a powerful way to, like I said, get back to basics. I agree with that. I wish I would have written down more family stories. I know, right? I know. But we can always start. We can always start where we are.
I
It's
just
never
had
too
this
late.
idea. I'm going to plant this with you, Camelia. Maybe I don't know, just a family story challenge or something like that. I can see you doing that. I don't know what it would look like. Maybe it's called a different name. I'm just going to plant that with you, because maybe we
Okay,
need all a little Camelia push to pay attention to those stories a little more. Because I remember my grandfather, who's no longer living, he would tell me the same story so many times, and I would just, yes, and I'm, and I miss hearing those stories, now, and thinking at the time, I have heard that story, and then I miss out on some of those stories. So I appreciate that push, but I'm gonna plant that seed. That would be a
girl.
cool little challenge to do.
Yeah, that's so true. My dad, has his story of his college days and back in the day. And it's so funny. My children, which are his grandchildren, can repeat it word for word, because he has told it so many times. And the beautiful thing about that, that's going to be ingrained in their heart when he's no longer here, that story or those stories. So, when he starts, we're like, here he goes. But, it tickles me. It tickles me, and it makes my heart happy, that those stories will live on. So yeah, those things are very important. And so, where am I? Oh, developing strong bonds. I think we kind of went over that, with what we just talked about. And it opens up communication, right? It allows us to open up and be vulnerable and be truthful and honest. And it may spark like another conversation that we hadn't even thought about, where we can help, maybe a child that may be going through something and they're otherwise may not have said anything, but given that space, right? Given that space for them to feel safe and connected, it opens up so many doors, right? And so builds confidence. It builds confidence in the 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 adult and the child, because when you're able to share your stories, that makes you feel proud, and then kids can go out and share those stories to the world. So it definitely builds confidence.
I
And
wanna
so
I wanna underscore, Camelia, just really quickly because it was really powerful, the 2 on developing strong bonds and opening communication. I think that's so, so important because if you can sit down and you can do a quick breath together, it puts you in that, parasympathetic space where you're in a calm, space, more connecting, and you're more in a space to be vulnerable, to learn from each other versus this is how it is and this is what I say and this is the way kind of thing, where adults and young people are learning and growing from and healing together. Mhm.
bingo. Bingo, because like you said, when I was growing up, it was like what I say goes. And we didn't understand, because nobody ever explained it to us. We just knew not to do it. But why, or why do we do something? So, times have changed. Times have changed. Kids are human too. They're just little people walking around. We don't have to tell them everything. We meet them where they are, but definitely having those lines of communication, I think really just makes the world a better place, because we're not walking around in this like fog of like, okay, I'm not supposed to do this, but I really don't know why, or I'm doing this and I really don't know why, you know? And, like I said, I have an 8-year-old grandson and I give him space. Well, grandma, I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? And I'm like, yeah, if it's developmentally if it's something that he's ready for, we'll explain it. Or I'm like, we'll talk about that at a different time, but still he knows. You understand, instead of just like, don't do that. So that's very important, very important. And so it helps manage emotions when we connect as a family, because everybody feels safe, right? You don't live in a space of where you can't voice your opinion, or if you're unhappy, or if you're happy, or if you're anxious. It helps us manage our emotions, because you're able to say, I don't feel happy at this moment. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you feel happy? Let's talk about it. So it creates space and it helps us all manage our emotions, because sometimes Elijah will say to me, like, grandma, just breathe. He knows when I'm upset. And instead of him, flying off or vice versa, we're able to calm each other down. He'll say, grandma, it's okay, and I'm able
Mm.
to tell him the same thing, babe, it's okay, I understand, but let's talk about it. Let's work through it
And
instead
that's
of,
a big shift, right? Like, I
yeah,
feel like what you said based on how you were growing up, and maybe others can likely identify with that. Um, I certainly oftentimes see this still some of that mindset in our educators in schools. It's a big shift to go to this more learning and growing from each other, trying to understand each other. And and I love that he's reminding you to do that,
mhm.
right? And clearly that seed has been planted and it is absolutely connecting. And when they grow up, they then become like it becomes they practice it so much they don't even know that they're doing it anymore. Even
Just
when
like
it,
brushing your teeth.
yeah.
Yeah, I want, him being able to self-regulate, and any child that I come in contact with, the goal is to be able to self-regulate, being able to go within, because emotions, that's a human thing. To tell a child you can't feel sad or you can't be angry, that's not fair. You know, they're human. they deserve a space to feel that way, but a healthy space, and then ways to help, healthy ways to get through those emotions. So, yeah. And so, I don't believe in a lot of the things that schools are doing, but that's a whole nother thing. But
We'll
if we
have to
brought,
we'll have to invite you back on and have that conversation. Maybe it's part 2 of the podcast, part 2 event here for COSM, but
yeah, just, if we brought mindfulness in schools,
Mhm,
like as part of like the day,
mhm.
it would change so much. Like starting the day with mindfulness over the intercom, just
Yeah.
setting the tone for the entire school would change things, but who am I? I don't know. I just
You're amazing. And
I just teach yoga and mindfulness every day. I don't know anything, but we're getting there though. We're getting there. And so, how does yoga and mindfulness enhance in bonding families and communities? So, yoga connects the mind, the body, and the spirit. Doing this centuries old practice as a family can help strengthen bonds. When the mind and body are relaxed, everyone's mood will improve so that the family members can learn, grow, and become more sensitive to each other. Excuse me. And that's just what I said in a nutshell, right? And so, it's something that brings all ages together in a positive way, because we're breathing, we're moving, we're learning to, rest or meditate, shavasana, whatever you want to call it. But it's something that allows us to be positive and connect, heal, grow, expand, all the things, all the things. It's just so many amazing benefits to it. And then creating spaces to grow as a person, you know, and as a community is heartwarming to witness. When you're and I often say that yoga is a practice, it's not a perfect. I learned that from one of the teachers that I've done a lot of her trainings, Lauren from Yogi Beans. And when she said that, that really like sparked something in me. Yoga is a practice, it's not a perfect. So it's something that we have to do every single day, or as much as we possibly can. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about doing the perfect pose. It's not about meditating for 30 minutes. It's not about, if you're able to get on a mat and move your body in a different way, that's yoga. If you're able to sit and calm your body, your mind, and the spirit for 5 minutes, that's yoga. If you're able to relax and just let the weight of the world go on your yoga mat, that's yoga. It's all about what your body needs on that mat. So that's why I often say yoga is your personal practice. And so when we create our personal practice, that's only going to enhance the practice when you come together as a family, as a community. It's only going to make it better. So you can't help but have an amazing time. Family yoga classes are so much fun because you're collectively coming together with that positive energy, and it's just magic. It's just magic. And so
Yeah, I agree for sure.
yeah,
And I mean, you're creating a space to be there for each other in a different way, that connecting, healing way versus I have no idea what's going on inside, and all I know is that you're supposed to do this because that's how I was raised, and this is the way it is.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. I've even taught my mom, she's had knee replacement on both of her knees, so she's not able to move, but I still do like some stretching with her, and I've taught her how to do mindful breathing, because she deals with like anxiety a little bit. And so, mom, when you get anxious or you feel anxious in your body, just sit for a moment and just breathe your way through it, and it allow you to kind of work through those emotions instead of like just having like this panic attack. Figure a way to go within, and it's really helped her too. It's really helped her a lot. So there's so many amazing benefits, and so having something in common to talk about and share, being able to talk about, when you master a pose, or, hey, I meditated for 10 minutes today, just having something in common. It's just another way to spark conversation. The kids go home and they're like, oh my God, let me show you what I learned today. you know, um, it's just really cool to see because a lot of the children that I teach, I may teach their grandparents earlier that day. It's so funny when I started to connect the dots. A kid would come to me and be like, no, grandma would come pick the child up. And I'm like, this your grandchild? Oh my God, I didn't even know. So now it's like I'm teaching the grandparents, I'm teaching the parents, and I'm teaching the kids. And so they're all learning the same things, right? Because we're teaching across the board, definitely on their level and things of that nature, but just teaching across the board. Everybody knows 5-finger breathing. Everybody knows peace begins with me, so you can do those things at home. And that's another thing too. I'm all about creating practices that you can do at home. Yoga is not the only, it shouldn't be the only time you see me. You should be able to sit down. The kids can lead the class, the parents can lead the class, the grandparents can lead the class, or you can do it all together. So yeah. And so yeah, so going to, I guess, to the next slide. And teaching classes for all. So teaching classes for each age group gives individuals their own space to practice. So that's why I like to do the senior classes. I usually do those during the day when the kids are at school. So the seniors have their own space because they love to chat. They love to do their chit chat and catch up on whatever they're doing, they're watching and things of that nature. So giving space for that. And then teaching family classes are super great to instill the importance of play for all of us, like how I opened the song, you know, all of my classes know that song.
Yeah.
So it's quite simple to play that song in a family class because everybody knows it. And so it's just like as soon as I turn it on, everybody's like, okay, so it's really cool. It's really cool.
That's fun.
And and then bridging the gap and allowing us to learn from each other is so important. That's the whole goal, just to bring the generations back together again. That's something that we've lost, but we can get back to it. We can get back to it. And yoga is just one way. There's so many other ways, like having dinner together, and having a mindful moment when we have dinner, like talking about the food, the texture, the color. It's so many ways you can incorporate mindfulness and yoga into our everyday life. It doesn't have to be on a yoga mat. It doesn't have to be an hour. You can cultivate these practices throughout the day.
I love it.
And yeah, bringing community together helps us stay strong and connected. I find that, a family and a community that do yoga together, stay together.
Yes. Yoga
You
together
know,
stays together.
yeah,
And side note, I always love seeing all the little treats and foods and things you bring together to bring that mindful eating community experience. So for sure, at the end of this, you can share your IG handle so others can make sure to follow and see all the awesome things you're up to.
absolutely. Because it's yoga off the mat. So yeah, we love communities love to eat, or in communities
Yes.
that I serve, we love to eat.
Yeah.
We love to have space to talk and catch up. So yoga just brings all of that together for the community. And so it also creates a community for other things to grow. It's beautiful to see parents come to a kids class, but they leave with each other's numbers. You
Oh,
know,
that's awesome.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're able to create play dates or different
Mhm.
things outside of the yoga class. Or a senior may meet another senior and they join a prayer circle together, or Bible study. They end up going to Bible study together, or you know, they realize they know each other from high school. I mean, just all kind of things grow from just creating that community. Or having dads come together. That's really cool to see, dads bringing the kids to something, because men oftentimes, they're so isolated. They don't want to talk. They don't want
Yeah.
to, but to see men come to they're dropping the kids off and they're like, at the end of the day, they're talking about basketball or they're talking about the game or so it just brings the community together and it allows for other things to grow. And
I
so
love that.
that's a lot of fun to see too. And
Oops.
just,
Was that the end? Oh, ended
oh
this
yeah,
slide?
that's
Oh, okay.
just
Okay.
being
I
creative and having fun.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm so grateful that your light is out in the world, helping different generations be more connected. Um, in fact, I'm a big intention setter. So intentions almost every day of mine personally are about connecting. And so I love that you are connecting, not just with others in this work, but connecting those generations together. I think that's so important to our healthy evolution forward, and to our kids, for where we, each generation wants their kids to do just a little bit better than that generation, and it requires some of this inner work to make sure that that happens. And so I love all the things that you're up to. I think before we do questions, if anybody has any questions, we can do a closing mindful moment, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So since we kind of opened with, more of a kid,
Mhm.
kind of feel, just to kind of close out our practice today with just being um in this moment and in this space, right? And I just want us to, really understand that we all have a purpose and a mission and something that we are called to do. I feel that it's bigger than us, right? And it's beautiful that, it took me a while, but I found it. And so whatever it is, I know there's educators on here or whatever you're doing, just being intentional about it and just showing up, the best the best and just giving your light and your knowledge, your wisdom. And those are the things that I feel that really make the world a better place. It's not about, I have this and I have that, but what are you giving back to the world? And so I'm very big and intentional on that. So I have like something that I like to repeat daily. And so I just want to share it with you. So if we could just kind of, take a moment to just get comfortable in our bodies. Um, we can sit up, if you want to lay down, whatever is most comfortable for you. I just want you to find a comfortable space in your body. And I'm just going to repeat, these affirmations that we can kind of set in our hearts
Mm.
and just allow it to lead us and guide us as we keep doing this work. Okay. So I'll give everybody a moment and I'll just do this. Usually I use music and things of that nature, but silence is good too. Okay. So we'll just take some cleansing breaths just to kind of, clear the space because I've done a lot of talking. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And I just want you to start to pay attention to your breath. We take for granted, that we have the gift of breathing. The moment we open our eyes, we're breathing. We take that for granted, but we're going to just take a moment to connect with our breath. And so, what I would like for you to do is start to gently inhaling through your nose and then opening your mouth and sighing it out. Again, gently inhaling through your nose, letting your body fill with air, and then open your mouth and sigh it out. Doing a few more of those at your own pace. This allows the nervous system to calm down, to reset the brain, to relax the mind, body, and the spirit. I'm going to repeat some mantras or affirmations, and if your mind wants to wander off, it's okay. Just come back to your breath. Breathing in and gently opening your mouth and sighing it out. So these are things that you can repeat daily, and you can say them silently to yourself as I say them aloud. I love and respect myself. I choose happiness, health, and joy. I live my life authentically and honestly. I express myself freely. I design my own life. I am in charge of my own decisions. I am in charge of my emotions. I am grateful for my life. I love and respect myself. I am enough. Now I want you to continue to breathe in, open your mouth, and sigh it out. Maybe one of these mantras or affirmations stuck with you more than the other, or maybe all of them did, or none of them did. But what I want you to remember is that showing up as your best self, whatever that may look like, some days it's better than others. Some days we give more, we take more. But at the end of the day, being human, being kind, being open is a gift that we can give that doesn't cost us anything. So take that with you tonight as we go out, into the world. I hope that there was something that resonated with you tonight, something that you can use or share or pay forward, but just being intentional about whatever it is we do. I invite you to open your eyes. You can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, because we've been bring your hands together, make some energy, make some heat. Then I invite you to stretch your arms out nice and wide and give yourself a big hug. And thank yourself for just showing up today.
That was awesome.
Yay.
Thank you, Camelia. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your inspiration with us tonight, and with those that will be watching later on the member site. It's time for questions. Jane, Barbara, if you have any questions, and as maybe they're thinking, or if they want to put questions in the chat, or you can come off mute. Camelia, you can certainly put in your links to your website, to your IG. Let me stop my screen share here. And there we go. Yeah. So I know you put this song in. Her website is mimi'syogakids.com. Love the energy, and will use the song with my pre-K kiddos. I love it, Barbara. Yes. And I love that, Barbara. I don't know if you heard, but she Camelia also uses Rub Your Hands with the seniors. They love that. They love the song too. So you just never know who's going to want to do some yoga tunes for all ages. But yeah, I love that. And IG is our Instagram is Mimi's Yoga Kids. Definitely give her a follow. So you can follow her work and stay connected, because that's why we're here, to learn and grow from each other. Barbara says, yes, for sure. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it too. I needed that. It was, I was telling Camelia right before we started the event, it's been a long day. If my brain freezes and forgets common words, or maybe even my name, I'm just going to let you know it's just been a day, but that's why we're here together and we take those mindful moments. And I definitely needed that vibrance for sure. Any questions for Camelia before we say good night? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Jane, for coming tonight. And if you want to access this later on the member site, it'll be up in a couple of weeks. So yeah, nope, just loved it. Awesome. So thank you, Mimi, for your spirit. Thank you. And Jane, have a great night. Barbara, have a great night. Stay tuned for some upcoming events, you guys. We have some more coming up in April. So just make sure you're watching the events page on the member site, and hopefully you guys are getting those emails from Lindsay on the events and everything. Okay, awesome. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, guys.
For your time.
Oh,
Thank
Jane
you.
said thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. Have a good night, ladies.